All right. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is doing okay this morning. I'm going to put one more time into the chat the link to today's to sign into today's session. I keep putting it in there, and then a couple more people are joining, which is great. So I want to keep putting it in there so no one misses it. So inside of the chat is the link to sign in. Welcome to the digital version of Monterey today. It looks like. Thank you guys, for joining. So. Again, I want to get you guys out of here as quickly as we can this morning. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we are looking at the session 6 over the Iste Standards for students. And today we're going to be talking about the creative communicator. And so this week will follow the same structure as last few weeks. We're going to kind of break down the standards by looking at the videos that Iste has posted online, and we'll take a look at what we can do. I'll provide you with some resources along the way, and we'll get you back on your way for the rest of the day. So yeah. So the Iste standards in general, their idea is to help guide us into this new learning that's taking place, a lot more digitally. And so these standards, there are a set of standards for students, which we've been looking at. There are some for teachers, administrators, coaches like myself, as well as computer science educators. And they are designed to work hand in hand with, the Common Core, the NGSS, and so forth, so that we can just enhance our teaching and better prepare our students for, 21st century learning that we are 21 years late in starting. These standards should be used to guide national policy all the way down into the specific curriculum mapping. But that doesn't mean that we should stop everything that we're doing to teach these standards. These standards are meant to be taught, are meant to go hand in hand with what you're already doing inside of your classroom. So if you're teaching a standard over, fractions in 5th grade, we should be thinking, well, how can we use these standards to better teach that lesson along the way. But having said that, you can also improve your own evaluation domains. Again, we had looked at the beginning of this, we kind of looked at the domains, 1 through 4, and said, well, how will this improve our own scores on our own evaluations at the end? And we found these, 8 or so different ways that you're bumping yourself up at least 1 point, possibly 2. So again, there are 7 total standards, sections of standards, I guess, for the Iste student standards. And we are looking at the creative communicator today. And next week is our final session where we will be looking at the global collaborator. So what is a creative communicator? And out of all of them, this is probably the one that's most, kind of duh, I guess. Like, it's being able to creatively communicate. And it's expressing the things that you're learning inside of class, and it's having the students create, which is always that higher level thinking, right? But it's having the students create ways to present their material to others. What's the best way to show off what they're doing inside of their class, what they've learned, and so forth. And so so this is kind of putting a cherry on top of maybe something that you've already done, and it's having them take over to express what learning they've had. So we're going to take a look at Standard 6A. Again, this one is broken up into 4 pieces as well. So we're going to have 4 videos and a few resources. And so we'll go ahead and get going with this.
Students choose the appropriate platforms and tools for meeting the desired objectives of their creation or communication.
They were able to choose which literary element they wanted to focus on. From a story that we read called Why Monkeys Live in Trees, it's a folktale. Those elements include characterization, the setting, theme, elements of a folktale, and they were able to choose what media source they wanted to represent that. So they had text available to them. They would be able to create a meme to illustrate characterization if that's what they chose. They were able to create a digital book if they wanted to illustrate their understanding of setting, if they wanted to create a video, if they wanted to do stop animation. Being an empowered learner, first of all, it gives the children choice. And that's important because it has meaning to them. It's not just meaningful to me as a teacher, but it had meaning to them because it was something they wanted to do. And they got feedback from a student or from myself or from Ms. Norris, and they did it another way, a better way. True education is them finding the truth about things.
So I like that. I like the idea behind that. I love giving students choice, and everything that I did in my class, I really strove to try to give as much choice as I could to the students, because then it does empower them. And of course, we looked at the Iste Standards for empowered learners, a few sessions ago, but it goes hand in hand with this one, because again, if we are allowing students to be those creative communicators, it's going to be up to them to choose what it is that is appropriate for to express that information. So one of the links that I have, and I forgot to share this out, so let me get this. Let me get the link for this and share it inside of the chat as well. This is a copy link to the spread, or the presentation that I have. It'll make a copy. You can put it inside of your own drive. You can delete things if you do not find them useful. You can take notes on them if you would like to add a little bit more. So go ahead and click that link, and so that you can get a copy of this. But the one that the slide I'm on right now is slide 10, excuse me. And so I'm going to open this up, and this is a little website that it just looks like a K-5 school put together that just provides some extra resources over some various communication platforms that are available that are very quality. And so, we use Google Jamboard because it's built into to the Google Meets now. Some of us use Flipgrid, especially those at Monterey are more familiar with Flipgrid probably than any other school. But various things that maybe you might not be familiar with, like Padlet, Adobe Spark, I believe has some free material, some free things that are available, but a lot of that is paid. But you have Book Creator, Powtoon, Canva, some of these things that you might not be aware of. And so the reason I'm sharing this slide is because, or this page, is because there's a little short video, a little short tutorial that goes with it, and for each one of these. And I think it's really important for us that we don't necessarily need to know every single thing about a program in order for our students to use that program. We need to know whether it's good. We need to know whether whether it meets the goals that we want it to meet. But the students are really capable of learning themselves and teaching each other and teaching you as well as the teacher in the class. So I would recommend maybe trying a couple of these things out. Some of them are a lot easier than others. Of course, we can help you a lot with things like Pear Deck and things like Flipgrid, things like Google Jamboard. We might not be able to help you as much yet, with things like Powtoon and Book Creator, but we'd be willing to help you, if you just reach out to us. So take a look at these. If you find one that really sparks your interest, go dive into it and ask questions to us along the way. We might not know them right away, but we'll Anita or I can take a look at it and get back to you. So the point being that, again, this standard has students choose their own platform that is most appropriate. Well, they aren't choosing those platforms if we just tell them you're going to be creating a Google slide today, or you're going to be inserting a Kami document. We aren't giving them that choice. We're not empowering them. And so, expand your toolbox a little bit with some of these. The other thing that I wanted to share, and it is not, funny enough, not listed inside of the other website that I just shared, but a Google site is also a great way to express, to have students create things, because not only are they creating a website along the way, But they can also choose the items that they put inside of that website. So if they want to put a video, they can put a video. If they want to put, just a document, or if they want to put a slides or a sheet or however they want, it gives them that opportunity. So you're narrowing it down for them a lot more with a Google site. But you still are giving them some choice along the way. And so I'm going to plug this afternoon also. We're going to be taking a look at being a level 1 certified teacher, and the last little bit of being a Google certified teacher. And the last little bit of that involves Google Sites. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about Google Sites this afternoon. That is my 2 o'clock session. So if you want to come back at 2 o'clock and take a look at that, I would recommend it. The other thing is that and I mentioned this in my email yesterday, but we are going to be doing a trial run with Nearpod. Nearpod would basically replace Flipgrid, but it would also allow us to, I said Flipgrid, I'm wrong, Pear Deck. It would basically replace Pear Deck, but it, from people that I know that have used it, and people, there are teachers in the district who just love Nearpod, and they're paying for it out of their pocket, even though we have Pear Deck. And they say Nearpod has everything Pear Deck has, but a lot more also. And so I'm really excited about this trial, to be able to play with this platform and see what it can do. And so I would recommend everyone, and I believe it's April 21st, so we still got over a month until that starts. But I think this is one that's going to be really, really good for our district if we end up going that direction. So I wanted to plug that as well. The next little video is Standard 6B, so let's go ahead and open that up and get started.
Students create original works or responsibly repurpose or remix digital resources into new creations.
My students created Kachina dolls.
A Kachina doll is a doll that helps children learn about their religion and their culture.
So when my students are creating, we do look at other works to get inspiration. And I want my students to be mindful that when we're looking at other people's original works of art, that we be respectful and acknowledge the work of other people, so that we're sharing ideas and not just taking or copying.
I think everybody is creative in their own way, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, you can just put stuff on there. It's still a Kachina doll, and it still will help you.
I want them to look specifically like what the creator is sharing and how that person is sharing it. And if we are borrowing something online, we take from sources that are copyright free.
So I think those kids will never forget what a Kachina doll is, right? Which is just cool, and by itself. This standard really goes hand in hand with the first one, because the first one takes a look at, well, how can we best take our information and present it out there? And what the second one says is, oh, by the way, also, if you use someone else's stuff, you need to make sure that you are using it correctly. And so Creative Commons is basically the law that says that you can share those things, and it's flexible copyright basically is what it amounts to. And Google, and I'm going to click on this link here. Google provides, well, first of all, this one is finding Creative Commons images using Google. So it's a little how-to. Now, having said that, they have updated Google since this, and this is one thing actually that, again, it's for this afternoon, but whenever you're looking at the level 1 test for Google, they actually haven't updated the test to match what this is right now. Right? This will give you the same steps on how to find proper using the search to find images that can be used. But right here, it says that you can filter the images for reuse with modification, or for non-commercial use, or for commercial use. It broke it down a little bit further, but I'm going to go ahead and go into Google, and we'll search for, let's see, Mickey Mouse always the go-to for me for the safe search here. So they have changed it just a little bit. So now if I go follow the same steps and I go into the advanced search, at the bottom is my usage rights. You don't see it broken down quite as well. You do here. That is awesome, because I wasn't doing this last week. So if you don't always see this, and because again, it wasn't showing up for me for about a month and a half, sometimes it will give you the option, instead of giving you all of these different things, it will break it down only into Creative Commons or not Creative Commons. And so if this is here, that's great. I think this is much easier to understand, that it's free to use, it's free to share, modify. I love the wording on this. If that wording is not always there and you are only given the option of using Creative Commons, then you just kind of need to know what that means along the way as well. But going into your Google Advanced Search is going to be the best way to find these things, because now whenever I change this search, the images that I get are a lot different than the images that I would have gotten beforehand. So here's that's the way to change that, and to give people credit for the work that they did along the way. Now, I have previously done a session over Google search, and went into not just Google search for the tip that I just showed you, but we went a lot more into depth over Google Scholar and different lesson plans that you can find on how to actually teach kids how to search, because that is a skill as well. And so if you are wanting to waste an hour of your life listening to me even more, then this would be a great place to go for that, just to get a little bit more information on searching appropriately and searching in a way that'll improve the education aspect of what you're doing inside of your class. Okay, let's move right along. We're going to go to Standard 6C.
Students communicate complex ideas clearly and effectively by creating or using a variety of digital objects, such as visualizations, models, or simulations.
I worked with my student's history teacher. He gave me a list of all the landmarks they're going to learn about in histories. They will replicate landmarks like Taj Mahal, the Blue Mosque, Christ the Redeemer statue in Rio, and they're working with their partner to replicate that landmark. The history teachers are very excited to see their projects.
We describe what the monument is about, and then we describe how we built it, so we can learn how architectures are different and similar.
They can choose between a large number of tiles and building material. If the structure includes a tile that doesn't exist, they can just create that tile.
It's really nice, so we could have a lot of choices to build new stuff and color it as accurate as possible in real life.
There's a huge difference between looking at a picture of a structure and actually building this structure, and I'm very impressed.
So I always give my whoa, that's really cool award every week to these videos. This one is hand in hand with the next one. I think this is fun. It gets my fun award. The next one I think is an incredible video. But yeah, Minecraft has an education edition. I don't know if how many people knew that. And the cost is $5 per user. So if you've got a class of 30 kids, for fairly cheap, you can get them that. Now, I'm not saying go out and spend your own money on this, but you might want to get in touch with your principal to set something like this up. Minecraft does have an education edition for the Chromebook. The way that this purchasing would go, if you want to go this route, if this is something that interests you and you kind of want to follow along, there's a lot of lesson plans out there that use Minecraft. But you would just need to talk to your principal, say, hey, you'd have to sell it to her, him or her, and from there, they would need to, of course, talk to their their director, and the principal would have to sell it to the director. Once that gets approved, it goes over to the tech side, and I don't see why we wouldn't approve that on our side. That is a one-time cost. I believe that's a yearly cost. Yeah, it gives them basically a license that attaches to their account. And so, but once basically all the directors are good, we would just need to get a PO put in place and so forth. I would just love to do it in my own classroom, right? And so if I can steal your classroom for a little bit, that would be great too. So if this is something that, like, man, I love Minecraft myself, or my kids love Minecraft, I would love to know more about it. You might want to maybe do a little bit of legwork on there, and that link provides you the resource to get that information just a little bit. I probably can't fight this one for you, but I will be happy to be in your corner on it. Now, again, this standard talks about creating using digital objects or visualization or models or simulation. And one of the coolest things that I've run into along the way is what's called a Google Lit trip. And if you teach social studies especially, or if you teach reading, this is like just money, because what this does is it provides basically a Google map. And I'm going to go ahead and open this one. This is from a book called Esperanza Rising. It's good for the middle school ages. Upper elementary. Okay. And so what this does is it puts the story onto an actual Google map, and so you can follow the path of the main characters or what's happening in the book along the way. So in Esperanza Rising, of course, we start out right here, and it actually provides them like a little launch screen. So so here's a picture of what the book kind of looks like. It says who it was developed by and so forth. Gives you a little bit of information about what the Google Lit trip is. But whenever you actually get started, so here's chapter 1, section 1, it's going to take you right to where the book actually, the setting of the book is. And so this is an overview of what that looks like. And of course, the kids would then be able to, move their mouse around and take a look, deep into what this city looked like, what the actual characters are seeing, would see today inside of a map. And of course, on the right-hand side, it gives them a little launch statement or some extra information along the way. So that's section 1. If I go to section 2, it's going to go to a slightly different section of the map. It's going to give us a sweet little angle here, and here we say it's got some questions to think about. So thinking about the story, who do we meet in this chapter? So you can build an entire lesson based off of this, and go from there. So this is chapter 1 of the book. If we go down, to chapter 6, then it's going to take us to the part of the book where they are at the border, and how did that process work? How did it, inside of the book, it's going to talk about that. And so here it says, thinking about the story, do you think the poem at the base of the Statue of Liberty welcoming immigrants is still important today? These are big questions that I think are just great to have people think about, and to have your students discuss in class, and what a great setting for them to see physically, what does that border crossing look like. And whenever you cross from one side of the border, some people are going to have their own stories on that, and it's going to bring up some great discussion as far as that goes. Maybe they've been to Mexicali, or maybe they've been to El Paso, where these crossings are. So anyways, this is one for Esperanza Rising. And I've also shared, let's see, here we go. There is a website for Google Lit trips where you can get quite a few of them. And so let me open this up, and It breaks it down on here on the left. So here's titles for grades K through 5. And so there's a handful of them. There's quite a few. If you go over to grades 6 through 8, you're going to get a little bit more. If you go to grades 9 through 12, you're going to get quite a few more. So it breaks it down by grade level there. And then, of course, there's some higher education titles as well. A lot less of those. If you are interested in this, what you have to first do is go into the member registration. So you would go into the member registration. This worked for me yesterday, so I know it still does work. I'm not sure why it didn't load, why it's not loading right here. I don't know if I have something that's blocking that. That's my guess, but you're going to have a form to fill out that just has you input your name, where you teach, your email address, and so forth. So that's the member registration. Once you register, then there is a button down here on the bottom that says request a lit trip. And so again, it's for whatever reason, it's not working this morning. And I think it's more to do with my internet than anything else. They're working on the internet in my building. So, but there's another form here where you put in your email address. It has to be the same email address that you registered with, and you just say there's a drop down of whatever books there are, and you request those books. And so you can request one at a time, and within about 10 minutes, it'll send you a link to the lit trip that you can use. So there's quite a few to pick from here. Work through them. This is where we got Esperanza Rising, and this is where we've gotten quite a few more that I know Mandy's used one or two inside of her classroom, at least whenever she was in 6th grade, and so they are good things. Now, in addition to finding them using Google Lit Trips, you can create your own as well. You can just start from scratch, and before I plug this person that has their own little course, Anita has done professional development over a Google Tour Builder, which Google Tour Builder has been basically done away with, but everything transferred into Maps. So she would be happy to sit. She loves doing these. This is like her the fun thing that she does, right? And so, but if you are more of a social studies teacher, as an example, and want to, there are courses available as well. So this guy, Richard Byrne, he is a big technology person, educational technology person around the internet, and this is a crash course in Google Earth and Maps, and it's designed to be taught to, I guess, social studies teachers, and I think it's like $27 to do it. It might be worth your time if you're really, really interested in doing this a little bit more inside of your class. Okay, so this one is going to tie everything together, and it'll be the last standard, and we'll be done after this.
Students publish or present content that customizes the message and medium for their intended audiences.
Students will do research on the different produce that we're growing in there. We do presentations at different events, so we're educating the public. We're educating different teachers who walk into our classrooms and students, and we even host tours for elementary students. Students sometimes can stop and they can walk through and they can explain the information to them, or they can individually walk through because students have created movies on some of the iPads that are in there. I notice a lot with my moderate severe special education students, because this is their class and they have ownership in it, and it's more than just doing basic custodial skills. I have students who are very verbal, they're leaders in the class. I have one student who makes his own movies.
My audience is family. Whenever I make a new movie, I always think about my audience. How would they feel about this? Would they be comfortable? What's important to me is that the audience I have will like this stuff, and hopefully they'll like to share it. For everybody who really enjoyed what I do, it makes me feel good.
That's the hair on your arm stands up a little bit. cool, just seeing like the passion that is begun for that student. And it begun, it began because of the opportunities that were given to them inside of that classroom. And there's no doubt in my mind that that student will go on and probably do something inside of film or television because of the passion that they got along the way. And so this, again, it puts everything together, and it's finding out, how can we publish this information? How can we present this content to others? And so it's kind of taking it a little bit a step forward and saying, what does that look like, and what medium is the best, and so forth. This last thing that I'll share with you, it's one of these things that I've always just loved. I've just loved the idea of this. I've seen it in a few classrooms. This can be paired with quite a few different mediums as well. You can do this with video. You can do it with Flipgrid. You can do it with podcast. But it's creating basically book reviews, having the students create book reviews, but they're doing it digitally, and then putting QR codes at the back of the book, so that instead of reading what the author has to say about what the book is about, you get to see your classmates or previous students that were in that classroom talk about this. So there is a short little video, and it goes into what maybe a problem that you might be having in your own classroom, and that is that students kind of read the same thing over and over, and groups of students end up just kind of reading the same thing, and there's not as much knowledge being shared throughout. So maybe that's an issue that you have. Here's how this teacher kind of dealt with it.
We've got some really good readers in the school, so we have a GATE reading group or extension group that have come and met in the library, and we had a discussion about books and authors that they were reading, and what came up was really a lot of the children were reading the same authors, and they weren't necessarily challenging themselves with new authors. And so I had a whole lot of new books, and we decided to offer them a choice of these new books and for them to do a book review.
We're making QR codes because so people can read books, and so people know if they like the books before they read them, instead of reading them straight away.
This way we decided was to create a QR code to slap on the back of the book and do a podcast, and it's worked very well.
Well, we use Buckaroo because it's really easy to do. When you start speaking, it will start turning your voice into a QR code, and Mrs. Beazle would print it out and actually stick it on the book so people would be able to listen to it from an iPad.
The most fantastic thing about the QR code and using it for the book reviews is that the children are actually creating and they're giving their voice.
It's about a worm that is like a superhero and loves helping other insects and is very strong and long. Well, the tone of your voice will sometimes change the ideas of the person that is wanting to get the book. So if you have a really up tone, they'll think it's a really cool book. And if you're not happy at that day, they might think it's not that good and you're just saying it.
I recommend this book to anyone who likes thrills, myths, and has a great sense of adventure.
That was excellent. Shall we listen to it?
In these books, two young kids journey off to different kingdoms to fight.
Okay, are we happy with that? And now we're going to generate the QR code. Okay, and there's the QR code. And so we'll get that and we'll print it out and we'll stick it on the back of the book.
All right. I think that would be awesome. I would love to have like a library in my classroom with like, I envision in 10 years, that there's just multiple QR codes on every single book, and kids are learning about what other kids that came before them thought about. I think that would be awesome. So But again, this standard kind of ties everything together, and it is taking the really not even just of this session, but the previous sessions of empowering students and having them step outside of their comfort zone digitally and presenting that material in a way that that is keeping up to the times, and not that there's not any value in the other ways to present it, but to give them a little slice of what it might be moving forward, I think is for the best. So that's all I have this morning, ladies and gentlemen. And let me share the links one more time to the sign-in and the presentation. Please sign in before you leave, and make sure you get your copy of the book before you leave as well. And that should be everything that you need. So I'm going to hang out for a couple extra minutes if you had any more questions. But other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day, and come back and see me at 2 o'clock to learn a little bit more about Google if you're interested in that. So thank you, everyone. And again, have a great day.
Thank you, Stephen. Have a great day.
Thank you. Tamara, do you have any questions before I take off?